Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the On Pattison podcast with me, Mike Missinelli, and Anthony Sanfilippo, who's in the frame right now. Of course, we're brought to us by the good folks at law firm of Wapner Newman. If you've been injured in any form of car accident, let Wapner Newman be your law firm to represent you. All right, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, the Olympic gold medal. And again, I take out my USA hat, just like last week where I gave them a little bit of luck. We'll talk about Philly spring training. We got some Eagle stuff to talk about. But let's focus the first segment. First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
All right, and the big story, there's not many stories come out of spring training. You get your obligatory feature stories on people and positions and such. And what we know is Zach Wheeler threw from a rubber today, that they're really high on Justin Crawford, who's looking pretty well. And they're also high on Aiden Miller, although he hasn't taken the field yet. He's got a back soreness, and they're taking their time with that. But the big story that came out, obviously, involves Bryce Harper. He just can't seem to stay out of the news here. And the news of this situation was a report by reporter Devin Caney, who works at WIP, and you see her as the Eagles sideline reporter. She had a report saying that the Phillies and Bryce Harper endorsed the acquisition of Rhys Hoskins. And a lot of people went, what? How's that possible? He just signed with the Cleveland Guardians, by the way. But what is this story about? Why would they possibly be interested? Can you fill in the blanks on this story, Anthony, for me?
I wish I could, Mike. I was a little bit surprised by the report as well, because really there's no fit for Rhys Hoskins.
The story doesn't make sense, first of all.
Yeah.
Whether she got it or not. I'm not trying to disparage her character and how she got it. She obviously had somebody feed her this kind of information. But if I'm fed this kind of information, I go, well, that doesn't even make sense. So why would I even pursue it?
Right. And I think that's kind of, the path that I want to go down with this conversation, because when you hear it, if you're around the Phillies, like, the first thing that you have to say to yourself is, well, wait a second. This doesn't add up. You have a first baseman in Bryce Harper. You have a designated hitter in Kyle Schwarber. Where the hell is Rhys Hoskins fit into this equation? And like I was trying to jump through some hoops to figure out how it could make sense. And the one that everybody immediately goes to is, well, I'll just put Bryce Harper back in the outfield. That's not a hoop that I think anybody in the Phillies organization is willing to jump through. They look at him as a first baseman. He's getting older. They don't want him running around in the outfield. He's not going back to the outfield. So that's not the one. The only other one I could think of is, do you look at Hoskins as kind of the platoon guy in the lineup for Brandon Marsh? And that, in that sense, Schwarber would play left field and Hoskins would be a DH. But even that seemed ridiculous to me, right? Like, that was the one where I could sit there and go, I could squint and maybe see it. So then, knowing that, if I'm told that report, I got to start asking around before I put it out there, right? Like, I got to start asking other people in the organization, be like, hey, here's what I'm hearing. How real is this?
The one thing you can't do as a reporter is dime out your source.
Correct.
Which apparently she did after the fact, running scared. She said, well, this came from the Rhys Hoskins camp. Now, so let's look at the scenarios on what could have possibly happened here. Bryce then came out and said, we talked about him last year at the trading deadline to add, not this year. Maybe she heard that from somebody and fast forwarded it to, while they're still in pursuit of him. I can't imagine that Bryce Harper would have said that now, that they would be interested in him. So maybe she got a report that, hey, they talked about Rhys coming back here, and she didn't ask enough questions to say, well, when did you actually talk about that? Was it last year at the trading deadline when the season was going on, or was it now? But she's out there defending herself on this report, and she claims she got it from the Rhys Hoskins camp, which, again, you never give up your sources.
Yeah, but that's number one. You're right. You don't ever give up your sources. And look, maybe things have changed, Mike. You were a journalist way back when at the Inquirer. I learned under the old school about the way you do things. you always have to confirm what you're hearing. Like you can't just go with what one person tells you. You have to kind of talk to other people and kind of get at least a second. Most times you need a third confirmation of it, right?
Exactly.
Depending on who is telling you what you're hearing, you sometimes need a third. Sometimes you can get away with two. But the reality of it is that you have to do due diligence there. And look, there have been many times where I've had something come to me and then I ask and it's not true, right? And so you just never report those things because
that's not true.
An agenda or they heard it wrong or whatever.
Right.
So you got to be careful.
So in other words, here's the situation. She hears it from the Reese Hoskins camp. She's got to then check it through the Phillies pipeline.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
And if the Phillies deny it, then you do what you want with the story. You think you've got good information. If they deny it, I don't know what you do at that point. But if you have to believe who your sources are and trust your sources.
Well, that's the other part that I have a thing with now is that I don't know what is a source anymore, and in a sense is, and what I mean by that is. And as you know, from back when you were doing this, you had to cultivate sources back in the day, right? Like you had to know that the person that you have this relationship with, where they're going to give you information, is someone that you can trust is giving you really good information. And you have to work on that relationship with that person, with that individual, or multiple individuals, as it were, if you have multiple sources. I wonder if that kind of cultivation has gotten away from people in more.
Well, I think it has. I think with everybody having some social media outlet, everybody wanting to put stuff out there, it definitely has gone your way, that way that you just said.
Yeah.
Like you get information, you put it out, you beat everybody else. And it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, people are going to forget about it anyway, whether you're right or wrong. Especially if you're wrong, you're going to forget about it and they're going to move on from it. Now, will your credibility take a hit? You probably will. But in her situation, does she have anything to lose by putting that out there?
Well, I see. I'm curious as to what Devin's MO is with this, right? Because, she's in a kind of a relatively new position at WIP.
Yeah.
In kind of that she's the Eagles sideline person, and now she's down on a lot of Phillies. It started last year. She started doing a lot of Phillies games last year. She was around a lot. And she's there. Like she's asking questions. She's around. It's not like Devin's just some fly by night person who's just come in and isn't really doing the job. Like she's around and she's doing good work. So the question then becomes like, what was the motivation to get that out when you put it out? Like, was that something that you were worried somebody else was going to report and you needed to report it?
Yeah.
Or is that something you can sit on for a minute until you get more information?
Clearly, I think it was the first thing. She's a young, enterprising journalist, and for her credibility, she puts out a big story. She gets more credibility. Now, let's just go through who this could have come from. She said it came from the Reese Hoskins camp. All right, so let's say it was the agent.
Right.
What would be the agent? Do you ask yourself, okay, what's the agent's motivation for putting that out there? That he's still wanted by a really good franchise because he's still valuable, and that would make him more valuable to someone else down the line, right? That would be the agent's motivation to put it out there.
Correct. And maybe that's the case because, look, he signs with Cleveland, right? Let's just play this game. So he signs with Cleveland. And he signs with Cleveland pretty quickly after this whole thing happens.
Yeah.
And so maybe the agent looked at it and said, Cleveland's they're interested, but they're hemming and hawing. Let me throw another team out there that could be interested in bringing him back. And maybe that gets them to bite. And I mean, it was just a minor league deal. It's not like he got him put on the 40-man roster, major league money. Like he got a minor league deal. So maybe if you're looking at it could it be the agent, and that's just the game that the agents play?
All right, let's just say it was, I don't know, she said it was the Reese Hoskins camp. Let's just say it was a family member.
Yeah.
You got a family member highly motivated to keep his name in out there, so people did not forget about him, and he's still a viable player. He can still play. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Let's just say it was his wife.
Right.
All right. Now, what do you do with it?
Yeah, it's tough too because I mean, like in my mind, like if Reese's wife, Jamie Hoskins, sees me and says, Yeah. Oh, Reese is coming back. The Phillies are interested in bringing Reese back. My initial thought to that is that not that she's giving me bad information. Is she saying that because this is where she wants to come back to?
Yeah.
Right. Like that's
Yeah.
it's not wrong of me to be skeptical like that. Right. I mean, like you have to weigh all of these things as to what a motivation is to share that information with a journalist. What is your motivation for sharing it? And to me, that has to be one of the considerations that you think about. That's not to say that it's bad information. It could certainly be 100% accurate, but then it's still, you still have to say, okay, what's the motivation? Let me confirm that motivation. And that's when you have to go look into it a little bit more.
You got to look into it. Not only, but you also brought another name in the story. You brought Bryce Harper's name into the story, right?
Yes, correct.
So if you're going to bring Bryce Harper's name into the story, you have to find some way to ask Bryce Harper about it.
Well, and that's the thing. So Devin was down at spring training, right?
Uh-huh.
She was there the day Bryce spoke to everyone. I mean, you could hear, she asked a question. You could see the WIP mic is in the shot on all the videos that are out there. So she's down there. How hard is it to just, after that interview, pull him aside for a minute and say, hey, here's what I'm hearing. What do you say about this?
Yeah.
Like Bryce is not a guy who's gonna slough you off. Like he has private conversations with people in that clubhouse all the time. I see it. I witness it. I've been there, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's not going to just say, get lost. I'm not talking to you. He may not give you information. He may not give you what you want to hear, but he'll answer that question in some capacity.
Yeah. And then he did answer it after the fact. After this came out, he was obviously asked about it. And what did he have to say?
Well, then that was an interesting thing. And the funny thing was, it was on WIP. So this is the same entity that Devin works for.
Right.
They asked him about it, and he said, "No, we didn't talk about it." He said, "Last year we did.
Last year we talked about it.
Yeah, not now. Recently we didn't talk about it." So he kind of puts her report under the bus a little bit, but then she doubled down on it.
She did double down on it.
Yeah,
saying and revealed where it came from.
Yes,
which is, I give her credit for standing out there in front of the story, but the story kind of like doesn't make any sense at this point. So I don't know, what are you standing by exactly?
Look, and I get that, right, Mike? I mean, we've discussed it on this show. I discussed it when you were on 97.5 with you. That I've been through this a couple years ago with the whole Kevin Hayes thing with the Cutter Gauthier trade, and people. Yeah, just
tell it for the people that don't know about that.
Yeah, so again, this was back when the Flyers traded Cutter Gauthier away. There were several reasons as to why he did not want to stay with the Flyers organization, forcing their hand to having to trade him, and Danny Briere talked, and Keith Jones talked, and Dan Hilferty. They all talked that day. We had Dan Hilferty on the Snow the Goalie podcast, and they all gave their reasons. They all told you what they wanted to tell you. But of course, I can't sit there and say, well, geez, there's got to be more to this, right? There's got to be more. Yeah. Why doesn't this kid want to play? So I started asking around, and it came to me that there, among the reasons, not the sole reason, but among the reasons, was that Kevin Hayes, who the team had asked to be a mentor for him because they went to the same college, right? Had kind of indicated to the kid that it would not be a good spot for him to play because of the coach, John Tortorella.
Yeah.
And so I put that out there. Now, my original reporting, and then it developed over the 2 days. The story kind of grew a little bit, and there was more to it. It wasn't just that, obviously, but it got clipped up, and as many things do in today's day and age, it ended up on Spittin' Chicklets, which is a massive national hockey podcast. Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney, and I guess it went viral. And a week later, Torts attacks me for it.
Yeah,
in a press conference. Right. Well, I never, at no point did I sit there and retract my report. At no point did I sit there and go crazy and double down on it. I still stand by what I reported, but I didn't feel the need to kind of go do a media tour and say, well, here's where I got it from. So this is why you should believe it. Like, I didn't do that.
You got it from Kevin Hayes.
No, I did not get it from Kevin. Kevin Hayes was not happy with that story getting out, as a matter of fact.
He's not happy about the story. So you got it from somebody close to Kevin. So I'm just curious what your mindset is when you hear a tidbit like that. What did you do from that point on once you got that tidbit?
So I will tell you, this is what I again, because I won't dime out sources. The first person I heard it from was actually someone not affiliated with the Flyers, which is, and again, that to me was like, okay, what's this person's motivation in telling me this story?
Yeah.
Like, they don't work for the Flyers, so they're not trying to, tell the Flyers angle on this story.
Mm-hmm.
They're not affiliated with Kevin Hayes. They're not affiliated with Cutter Gauthier or the Anaheim Ducks. So what's the motivation? So then I had to start asking around, and I had to ask a couple other people what the heck was going on. And I did it all via text that night. It was at the game when the trade was announced. And I got some answers, and I got some responses from people who would know. And so that's when I felt comfortable enough to say, okay, I got it from somebody initially, and I had it confirmed by two other people within the company, within the organization. I could put this out there.
So you got confirmation from the Flyers organization.
From people within the Flyers organization.
People within the Flyers organization.
Yes.
All right, and that's the way you do it. So in other words, if Devin Caney had gotten confirmation from someone inside the Phillies organization, we would be talking about a more sound report, correct?
Correct. Yes, I feel exactly that would be the case. So
all right. So what you're talking about sourced information anymore, where it's less likely that these stories are nailed down because of social media that they get out there. What do you see going forward with this kind of reporting?
So that's a good question, Mike. And I've started to wonder this more and more. Obviously my situation, and then a lot of other ones that have come up since. We're just not. The media is just not trusted, right? And
hated. The media is hated.
We're hated, right? And we're not trusted, and it's unfortunate because I would say 90% of people doing what working beats in pro sports and in the media are doing the job the right way. They just are. They're legitimately doing it the right way. But there are some people out there who are willing to just throw everything against a wall and see what sticks. And those are the ones that make it harder. And whether they have what they determine to be a source maybe isn't really a source. Maybe they're making up a source and they're using that as justification because those of us who are doing it on a daily basis, well, Anthony can get away with saying he has 3 sources for a story. So I can say I have 3 sources, whether I do or I don't, we don't know.
Right.
Because you have to, who's protecting who, right? So I think that because of that, there's so much doubt anymore that I wonder if it's even worth reporting things in that vein anymore. Like, I wonder if it is. I still do it. I still here and there, hey, a source told me, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like if there's a major story, and I'll give Matt Gelb a lot of credit here. Like, we talked about the whole Nick Castellanos thing, right? Yeah. And then that story came out. He talked to, he wrote in the story 12 different sources. He said, and then I listened to his podcast after the fact, and he said there were 17 different people that he ultimately talked to. He wrote the stuff he used in the story was 12, but there were 17 that he talked to, and he gave them all the ability to remain anonymous, to talk freely about what happened with Nick Castellanos. And in a story that's that sensitive, I think that's fair. I think that you can still do that. But when it just comes to just generic, day-to-day stuff with sports teams, I'm starting to come to the realization that even if you have sources, and I know I do, and I know you do, and everybody that does what we do has sources, that maybe we're just damaging ourselves by using that traditional journalistic method.
Yeah, again, I don't think you can. You might be right in what your assessment is, but I don't think that anybody could take heed because there's this need to get it. The social media instant microwave type of thing. You have to get it out. You want to get it out. You want to get it out and bring some attention to yourself. So you're going to cut corners a lot. And if you hear from one source, you're going to put that out there because, again, at the end of the day, you may get attacked for it. I'm sure Devin Caney is getting attacked for putting this stuff out. She's probably getting slaughtered on social media. So you got to be willing to take that hit and move on from it. But at the end of the day, if it's wrong, nobody's going to remember it's wrong anyway. So what's the risk of putting something out?
Yeah, and you're right, and you're right about that. And the one thing that I will say back to that, and this is more to fans who doubt the media, who hate the media, is I would say consider who is presenting you the story. Like, Mike, you and I have been around a long time. Like, what benefit is there to us at this point in our careers to make something up like that?
Nothing.
Like, people know us, people know who we are, right? Like we do the job.
I don't need any more attention in my life.
Correct.
To the point where I need to put something out there that people are going to talk about my report.
Right. Correct. And so that's why I say take a look at where it's coming from. Sometimes we don't have any kind of like, oh, I need to elevate my name and I need to get it. People know who I am in hockey. People know who I am on this net, on Pattison, on this network. Like, I don't need to have that out there, but I can understand if it's a young first time or newish reporter trying to make a name for themselves. Like, then you sit there and go, okay, I see why they're doing. I see what their motivation is. So I think that fans have to be discerning about where the information is coming from and then determine for themselves.
Hey, listen, she may have done everything right. She may have gotten the source. She may have confirmed the source, whatever. But the story itself doesn't make any sense. So you have if you have the credibility you gain and you sourcing it is weighed down by the fact that it doesn't make any sense, right? So what kind of a story really is it? Jay Sportman checks in. This is a pretty good. I'm curious, how often do you, meaning sports media reporters, get something super juicy that you don't or can't release due to potentially damaging a source relationship? Now, I didn't worry about the source relationship as much as what the information was that's going to impact the people that I'm reporting on.
Correct.
I'm always going to protect the source. That's not going to come out. Let's take the biggest example out there. The biggest example out there was the Craig Carton situation way back in the day when he reported that Eric Lindros missed the game because he was hungover.
Right.
So suppose he's got 3 or 4 sources that report that. Now, that's juicy as hell. That's the juiciest type of story you can possibly have, right? Mm-hmm. So you put it out there. You're not going to reveal your source. So the source who's telling you this is not going to be damaged, right? You worry less about the source, but more about the veracity of the story.
Correct. Now, I will also tell you, though, Mike, and this is where sometimes in our job, we got to get down in the mud, right? And do some things a certain way. There was one time I can tell you that I'm not going to tell you what the story was because it never became public, but that someone had shared with me, and I had photographic evidence of an event that involved a Philadelphia athlete. And I was trying to decide the best way to go about doing this. And I brought it to someone that would be that person's superior. Mm-hmm. And in conversation with that person's superior, we agreed that I wouldn't publish a story about that, but in turn would be given another major story. And then I was able to then break that major story in this market. Like things like that happen sometimes. And I weighed the value, and I'll tell you honestly, without giving away what the story was, I weighed the value of it. And I determined ultimately that I went ahead with the path that I went ahead with because the information that I had initially would not have impacted the way that team played their sport, but rather would only impact the individual.
Yeah.
And so therefore not reporting it, I felt okay with that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yeah,
trying
no,
to talk around it,
I
but
totally see what you're saying. When
yeah,
Jay Sportman says potentially damaging a source relationship, the only way you damage a source relationship is you give up the source. Well,
yeah,
whoever he got that from now is never going to trust her again with anything. Maybe she doesn't need. Maybe she figures, well, I'm not going to need these people anyway. This is the Reese Hoskins camp it comes from. What am I going to get more from them? So I'll risk putting it out there. But she damaged her relationship with whoever she got it from because she went out and said it came from the Reese Hoskins camp.
yeah, and Jay Sportman follows up and says, as a consumer, it's crazy to hear and think about how much goes into this. And I can say there are so many things that we know that we can never report.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an example. I'll give you the biggest example for me.
Okay.
Not as a journalist, but as a sports talk host. The Riley Cooper incident.
Yeah.
Where he uttered the N-word at a country concert.
Yeah.
That was presented to me by a guy who took the video of it. He presented it to me via email, blah, 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 blah. And it was the juiciest story you could ever possibly have. Now, I ran it by my superiors, and they decided not to go with it. So I wound up telling the kid to sell it for what he can to Crossing Broad, which was like a perfectly, but our higher ups did not want to take the chance on ruining a guy's reputation. They weren't willing to stand out on that limb. Now, to this day, I regret that. I regret that. I didn't have any power to put it on the air once it was vetoed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I always regretted that.
Yeah. I mean, there are things sometimes when, you look back on it and, I could tell you a time that in a different angle on this, but I was fed a story by an agent in hockey once about a trade. And I had no reason to not trust the agent. The agent had been good to me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that it was totally bogus and he was using me to try and get a better deal for his client.
Yeah. Which agents do all the time.
But that was the first time I was ever burned. And I didn't feel like it was fair, because I had always been good to the agent with, conversation. But like that, like stuff like that happens. And so that's when that happens, and that happened early in my career, you learn and you harden up a little bit and you say, okay, well, now I'm going to be even more vigilant about confirming information because I don't want to get burned like that again. That sucked, And so we all have those moments. So
here's the last word on this, and we'll take a break.
Yeah.
If she's presented a story like that, and just say it's you're presented a story like that, it comes from Reese Hoskins' camp, whoever it is.
Right.
My first inclination is to say, it doesn't make any sense. So I can't pursue it with zeal. A, I would have to get completely reporting on this on the Philly side, and B, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm less likely to be enthusiastic to do that. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's a BS story that's not worth digging into that much because it doesn't make a bit of sense.
Yeah.
If it makes sense, yes.
Yeah, although I will tell you, there have been times where someone's told me something that I say, well, that sounds ridiculous, and then it actually turned out to be true.
Yeah, but let's look at this particular story.
But yes, in this case,
they had just signed a right fielder. The only way this would have worked is if Bryce Harper was willing to go back and play the outfield.
Yeah,
which you never know; it's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to, unless it's the only way it would happen.
Besides that, they had already acquired a right fielder.
Yeah, they had already acquired a right fielder. Harper is not going back to the outfield unless it's a dire emergency. You're not playing Schwarber in the outfield half the season. Like that, there was nothing that made sense for it to be Reese Hoskins. If it was another right-handed hitter that played a different position,
exactly, it just didn't make sense at all. Unless he was willing to go back to the outfield, which we know they don't want to do, and he doesn't want to do. He can say whatever he wants. Bryce Harper is not going to go back to the outfield. No. He can say, "I'd do anything the team wants me to do." At the end of the day, he's not going back to the outfield. He's got that kind of clout where he says, "No, that's not happening."
Correct. You're right about that. 100%.
Let's take a break. In the city of champions, you deserve champion legal representation. Wapner Newman in PA and Jersey is a premier medical malpractice and injury attorneys. Call this number, 215-569-0900, or visit wapnernewman.com. The A.J. Brown story, it won't go away. Why won't it go away? Because the Eagles don't make it go away. We'll talk about this after this.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Bring your party to Chicky and Pete's. We can handle groups of all sizes at our locations across the Delaware Valley. Big parties, small parties, company parties, family parties, get-togethers with friends. Order off the menu or our special catering options. We can do it all, including coming to your home or office or special Play 2 party packages at our South Philly location. Book your party today. Hurry, the space is limited. Visit chickyandpete's.com for details. Chicky and Pete's is official caterer of the Philadelphia Eagles Touchdown Club and a proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Your house isn't just a home. It's a powerful tool that allows you to do more. With the Penn Community Bank Home Equity Loan, you can unlock your home's potential to finance whatever life throws your way. Receive reliable funding with fixed monthly payments to tackle home projects, consolidate high-interest debt, or cover big expenses. Take advantage of annual percentage rates as low as 5.24% today. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/home equity to get started. Penn Community Bank, here we grow. Terms and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Steel and Pattison podcast with me, Mike Missinelli, and Anthony Sanfilippo. We're here for about Anthony on the Flyers in a little bit. Also, the Olympic gold, USA. That's coming up in a little bit. Philly spring training is going on. And I'm curious to know, before we get to the A.J. Brown story, how you feel about the guys that are competing for the last two spots in the bullpen. They all pitched yesterday. There's six guys: Zach Pop, Kyle Backus, Zach McCambly, Tim Meza, Trevor Richardson, Genesis Cabrera competing for the two spots. They seem to like Pop and Backus. What can you tell me about either of those gentlemen?
Well, Backus is the one that's most intriguing to me because he kind of replaces Matt Strahm in the
sidearm lefty.
Yeah, kind of a funky delivery lefty. It's more about deception in the delivery as opposed to high velocity. And so I think that it's a similar kind of guy. And so I think he's a front runner. On the other side, it's interesting. Like Pop is definitely a guy that they like. Another guy who I think we got to take a look at. I don't think he pitched yesterday, but I think he pitched one of the games over the earlier in the week. Chase Shugard was a righty that they got from the Pirates. Had a short season last year. Only pitched, I think it was like 44 or 45 innings, but had really good numbers. And it was mostly against right-handers, but I think that's an interesting name to watch. The other one is Zach McCambly, who's their fifth, the Rule 5 pick.
He's a righty.
Righty, who dominates righties. The interesting thing with him is he has to make the team. If he doesn't make the team, the Phillies have to give him back to the Marlins, right?
Right.
So that's another thing to take under consideration. I do think it's the most fascinating battle in camp. I really do. I think those two bullpen spots. And the thing is that they want to have some flexibility. So they want to have guys who have some options that they could send down to the minors and call back up. And so that they aren't locked into the same guys all season, right? They can kind of mix and match.
Yep.
So I think that's going to come into play, but I think it's going to be a fascinating battle.
Just think about that. We're focused. The Phillies are, the Phillies are really good to the point where we're focused on the most exciting battle or the most permanent, important battle is two spots for six guys competing for two spots.
Yeah,
in their bullpen, and that's the back end of the bullpen, by the way. Yes. Not even the front end, because the front end is pretty solid with Duran, Alvarado, Keller, Kirkering, and Banks. Keller, of course, 11 pitches as a starting pitcher yesterday, got him out without any damage at all. 11 clean inning for him with 11 pitches. So let's look at the rest of their bullpen. All right, after Banks, you got three spots, right? One of them will be Taijuan Walker once he's out of the starting rotation.
Well, maybe. So we got. Don't forget Jonathan Bolin, who's the guy that they got for Schramm in the trade, right? He's probably your sixth reliever. Your third. He's
going to make the team. Right? Bolin will make the team.
Yeah, and I think he's a multiple inning guy. Like not like a long man, but I think he's a guy who you could say we could throw him an inning and 2/3 or 2 innings, like and he'll be okay. He's probably going to be using like those 5th, 6th inning roles early in the season with an opportunity to get into higher leverage situations later. So I think he's locked in. If I had to lock it in, I'd say right now your righties are Duran, Keller, Kirkering, Bolin, and your lefties are definitely Alvarado and Banks. Those are the 6 that are locked in. And then there's
the funky lefty, Kyle Backus could be
Backus,
in there.
Who I think is 7. And then the 8th spot is to be determined. I don't know what's going to happen with Taijuan Walker later in the year. Like that's an interesting thing, Mike, because if the top 5 starting pitchers stay healthy, the other 4 guys besides Walker stay healthy, and Wheeler comes back and Wheeler's Wheeler, what do you do with Walker?
Long man.
Yeah, but then you got to send somebody out.
Yeah, you got to send somebody out. They won't worry about sending somebody out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it really comes down to, right?
Yeah. Let's look at the bench and the extra men.
There's one spot up for grabs here.
What's that?
There's one spot up for grabs there.
Yeah, so the locks are Sosa, Marchand, Kemp.
Yes.
So will Brian De La Cruz make the team?
That's a good question. I think he's got a shot. The only thing that I think there's one other guy who I think is ahead of him, and it's purely because of versatility and not because of ability. And that's Dylan Moore, who they brought in from the Seattle Mariners, can play every position but catcher. And he's pretty solid. Like he's a solid defensive player. He's not like bad. It's not one of those guys you're like, well, he plays everywhere because he can't play anywhere. He's actually decent defensively, but he can't hit. So that's part of the problem, right? So like, do you sit there and go, we'll have less flexibility, but Brian De La Cruz is that right-handed bat who could come off the bench and maybe hit a home run.
Yeah, he's got pop.
Or would you rather have a guy who you can play at 7 different positions and have some more flexibility in how you put your lineup together? And
like an Eric Bruntlett of the 26 Phillies.
Yeah. So that's really, to me, that's the battle for the last spot on the bench is between those two guys.
All right. Talk to me about Bryce Harper a little bit, being so outspoken this spring and becoming kind of the face of the labor movement.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, if you remember the last time, I think it was Max Scherzer was the guy who was kind of like the most outspoken MLB player, right, about the labor situation. And we talked last week about the mess that happened with Tony Clark going out, right? And now they've had to replace him. I just think Bryce has gotten to the point where he's a Scott Boras client, and he's probably one of the most notable ones who's not afraid to be in front of a microphone and talk. And I think that he has no problem expressing a view that a majority of players have. And if they feel like he feels like it has a little bit more gravitas coming from him than maybe it would from, a slightly lesser player.
Now, these guys are going to be leaving soon for the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we're talking about Bryce, Kyle, Keller.
10 Phillies, really.
10 Phillies.
Yeah.
Stubbs, but that,
yeah.
That doesn't really concern us. But
so Stubbs is the union rep.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. He's player rep.
I'll have to put the union rep on the shelf for a little bit. He'll be catching a lot for Team Israel.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the A.J. Brown situation.
Yeah.
Sirianni and Roseman spoke at the Combine beginning today, by the way. Sirianni said that he can't guarantee that Brown, not specifically, but he can't guarantee that anybody will be back next year. What does that say to you? I'm really kind of perplexed at how they're handling this situation. It's like you could easily say we have no plans to trade AJ, and still trade him.
Correct.
It's clear they're putting it out there that hey, make us an offer because we might be willing to trade him.
Yeah,
is that the way you read that?
Yeah, Mike. I don't understand. This is like usually the Eagles operate in a much different manner. Like they don't normally operate like this.
Yeah,
you usually know where the Eagles stand on their own players. Obviously, they don't let a lot leak out about what they're doing, what their plans are for bringing people in or making trades or whatever. But with their own players, you kind of know where they stand. And for them to be kind of wishy-washy about it, I don't see the benefit in this because if you're publicly doing this, you're devaluing the player. You're not going to get as much in return.
You think so? Are they really devaluing the player? Or are they just saying, hey, listen, he's a great player. Make us an offer. We know he's a great player. You're going to have to make us a great player offer.
Well, maybe, but if that's the case, then you do it the way you said. You say, yeah, we're not going to trade AJ Brown. And then you quietly, behind the scenes, Howie's texting the other 31 GMs saying, hey, he's available, but only for the price that we want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you do it, by publicly making it seem like you're not sure if he's going to be back. I think it does take a hit. Like you made some trade offers last week. You presented me with trade offers last week, and I said I said to you, I would do it for a first round pick, but anything less than that, I'm not. Then this week, I'm hearing some trade conversation about him that's like a third round pick. Well, I mean, to me, that's devaluing it.
Yeah, there's no way that it's third round pick value. I have a different spin on this than you. Them putting it out there saying we're open for business, make us an offer. I don't think they're devaluing anybody. I think they're saying we got a great player here. The offer's going to have to be great for us to give it up. So, and in that way, but it is surprising that they said there is no guarantee that he'll be back.
Yes,
that's the weird part about it.
And the other thing too, Mike, is there are other holes on this team. Like we've been through them. Like we talked about them. Cornerback, offensive line is a problem, right?
Yeah.
A backup running back, a slot receiver. You trade away AJ Brown, even if it's just for a draft pick, you've now created another hole, tight end, right? But you've now created another hole. It's just a lot to try and fill in one off season. If you plan on contending for a Super Bowl again next year, like this is a guy you should be holding on to and not trading away and retooling for 2-3 years from now.
I get it. And I thought it was really interesting as how Sirianni went way off on how great Devontae Smith is.
Yes.
Which is another thing that you throw into another log into the fire here.
Correct. I can't wait to see how he's going to operate in this offense. Like it's going to be huge in this offense.
It's all about Devontae Smith.
Is that because he's going to be your number one receiver next year?
Read between the lines. Is that the way it's going to be?
I don't know if that's good enough.
There was a story in the Inquirer about how the offense will be different under Sean Mannion. If you happen to check that story,
I didn't read that story.
All right, so it was the Shanahan-McVay scheme that led the Eagles to Mannion. So he's going to be running something like that.
Yeah.
Improving the run game was paramount, and choosing the new coordinator and scheme. Run blocking scheme changes were probably the chief reason that Stoutland resigned. Hurts may actually run less in this new offense. Well, how about that? I thought the exact opposite. Sirianni left plenty of wiggle room for carryover from the previous offense. Mannion will work closely with Hurts, obviously. The new scheme probably won't increase the likelihood that Brown wants to stay in Philly, which is what I wanted to get to there. He's expressed his love for Philly. That doesn't necessarily mean he wants to return if the passing game is going to remain secondary. So their focus is on improving the run game. But what about the pass game? Yeah.
Look, I think it's a problem. If you have, and I understand why you want to run the ball more. This is, the Eagles started this trend, right? Like, let's be honest. This was a passing league until 2 years ago. And then the Eagles just said, well, we're going to show you. We're going to run the ball all over you so you can't, because you can't stop us. Our offensive line's so good, and Saquon's having an all-time season. Like, you can't stop us. And then everybody now says, well, maybe we should get back to running the football more instead of constantly throwing the ball, right? And so it becomes a copycat league. And so now everybody wants to run. And the Eagles are saying, well, yeah, we still want to run. Let's find another way to run. So because we probably can't be what we were 2 years ago, but we can be creative enough to use that as our primary path on offense, and then have the passing game be secondary. I think it's a mistake when you have the two receivers that you have in Brown and Smith. Why aren't you throwing to them more regularly? That's how I look at it.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And Jason LCD, great point, because I think he's right. A good way to improve the running game is to improve the passing game.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. Play
action is king. I found it interesting that the head coach of the New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel, had a lot of positive things to say about A.J. Brown, how he texts with him all the time.
Yeah.
Huh?
Tampering, baby.
First round pick from the New England Patriots for A.J.?
See, that's the thing. If you do, it's a first round pick, Mike, I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Got to be a first round pick, though.
It's got to be a first round. If it's less than that, I think you're selling short.
Other football news. The tush push is not going to be discussed in the rules committee. Because the Eagles don't do it well anymore. It's not an issue. I was never one of those guys that said, they're only doing it to ban the Eagles because they can't replicate what the Eagles are going to do. But this tells me exactly, since the Eagles can't do it as well anymore, it's not an issue to anybody anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how do you go from falling one vote short of it passing to eliminate the play a year ago to now nobody cares? Like, how do you do that? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, in the way voting works, like, you expect that there are still people who would support getting rid of the tush push.
Yeah.
But why are they not?
Eagles don't do it well anymore. Everything's even now.
Yeah, that could be. The other thing it could be too, Mike, and this is the one thing I thought about this week when we were thinking about talking about this. The Green Bay Packers, they were the team that introduced that that stuff last year about trying to ban the tush push.
Mm-hmm.
They took some abuse all season long about being the team that introduced banning the tush push. Maybe nobody wants to be the Green Bay Packers again.
Possible. Yeah.
Right?
For the record, I've said this before. I'm anti-tush push.
I am too.
I don't think it's a football play. I think it's ridiculous to have tonnage pushing a guy forward. And I'm talking about in every capacity. Like, even when, a running back is held up and then you see somebody, come from behind and try to push him forward. I don't know that that's football.
It's not. It's not. And a quarterback sneak has always been in the playbook, right? It's always been allowed, and usually it's pretty successful, even without being pushed from behind. Yeah. So why not just do that? Like, I've never been a fan of the tush push either.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. I want to talk some USA hockey and how it got politicized, Anthony. I'm curious to know your views on that. But if you find yourself on the injured list, get help now. Call Wapner Newman, PA, and New Jersey, the premier medical malpractice and injury attorneys. The number is 215-569-0900 or visit wapnernewman.com. The On Pattison podcast, we're talking Olympic hockey. USA, baby. Back after this.
The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department. A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Penn Community Bank, we're your financial partner for all of life's moments. Our checking accounts are designed with you in mind, providing convenient access and 5-star mobile and online banking services to help you achieve your goals. Right now, you can earn a $350 cash bonus for opening a qualifying new checking account with direct deposits in the first 60 days. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/cash bonus to learn more. Penn Community Bank, here we grow. Offer terms and conditions apply. Limited time offers subject to change. As for full details, member FDIC.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
All right, we're back on the On Pattison podcast with Mike Missinelli and Anthony Sanfilippo riding shotgun today. All right, Ant, USA did it. A very exciting game. A lot of people not excited that it ended with a 3-on-3 to decide an Olympic gold medal. But Hughes with the goal, a beautiful game. The first period was spectacular in this game if you got up early to watch it. But the aftermath of it was interesting. Now, these guys were at the State of the Union. A lot of the team, a lot of weren't, but most of the team was there for the State of the Union. They got introduced. How, in your view, did this become politicized?
Everything becomes politicized anymore, unfortunately. I mean, it stems from the phone call from President Trump in the locker room, right? That's what lit the fuse. That and the fact that Kash Patel is in the locker room partying with them.
Yeah.
So those two items is what politicized the win. But where I had a problem was like everybody attacking the players. Like they just had the biggest moment of their life. Like you don't have to like the president or do like anything that's going on in this country right now. You could be disgusted by all of it, and I'm with you in a lot of it, right? I just look at this like these guys just worked their asses off to win a gold medal, something that they've dreamed about doing their whole entire lives, and all of a sudden we're gonna start besmirching them because
why are we besmirching them?
Well,
what exactly are we besmirching them about? Because they laughed when he said we have to invite the women's team?
Yeah, I mean, because there was a locker room joke told over the phone and they chuckled about it, right? I mean, if you listen to Jack Hughes' mom, Ellen, Jack and Quinn Hughes' mom, Ellen, who is one of the, I won't say she's a coach, but it's like she's she trains with the women's team.
Right.
She went on, I think it was CBS's Today Show the next day and said, you should see the relationship that these men and women had over here. They were hanging out in the dorms together. They were going to events together, dinners together, like partied together because they both won. Like there was a lot of support. The women were at the men's games. The men's were at the women's games. So to make it seem like that these players were like in on this misogynistic, like anti-women's team thing, that was to me a creation by people and not the reality. And so like that's why I had a problem with it.
Well, the reality though was seen on live TV. the reality of them laughing about it.
Yeah, but again, like, I mean, look, comedians have told jokes that push the envelope, and people laugh at that. Are we to make fun of? Are we to not make fun of it? Are we to criticize people attending a comedian's concert for laughing at a joke that's a little
insensitive?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a sign of the times. Everything is politically sensitive these days.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to the way the president has fashioned himself in office, and so that's the way what it got to. But it's an amazing feat. Even though the Canadians kind of outplayed the U.S. team, it's an amazing feat that the U.S. got the gold, and it's going to be remembered forever.
And it should be, and I hope that it is, and I hope that ultimately history remembers the fact that they pulled off an amazing upset to win the gold medal, and not remembers this politicized stuff. Because the one thing for me, Mike, and I tend to avoid political conversation just in general because it never goes anywhere. I just miss being able to go to a sporting event or watch a sporting event and have it just be about sports.
Yeah.
On the whole. It's a diversion for me. I follow politics. I pay attention to what's going on in the world. I don't need other people to I don't need my sports people to remind me, right? Yeah. You're my escape. We're fortunate. I think of people like you and me are fortunate that we're able to make our careers in a world of entertainment, right? Yeah. We shouldn't have to be bringing in the real world troubles into what we do. That's my beef.
I don't know if you can be blind to it either, though.
No, you can't be blind to it.
There's a fine line to it, and what leads me to the next. We get into our quick hitter segment here.
Yeah,
Keith Olbermann versus Frank Saravalli. Now Frank very well. Covered the Flyers for many years. Now does the national, covers hockey nationally. Is a local guy, and Keith Olbermann called him a fraudulent, preening, uninformed, hypocritical fat fuck. Is what he called him. And now, the first thing I thought about is how does Keith Olbermann know Frank Saravalli, or did he just read a tweet by him?
Now, other than the fact that the only thing I can think of is that Olbermann used to work for ESPN, so maybe he has some kind of like finger on the pulse of the national sports media. And Frank worked for a time for TSN, which is ESPN of Canada. Right. So maybe there's some kind of like crossover there, Venn diagram where they know people that cross paths with each other kind of thing.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Keith Olbermann apparently has rabbit ears. He hears everything and sees everything.
Yeah.
But an innocuous, let's face it, Frank Saravalli leans to the right on this whole thing. And
does.
Said if you can't enjoy the USA's victory, you're out of your mind or whatever he tweeted. And Keith Olbermann came right back at him. It's just amazing. All right, what else is going on? Tony Dungy is out at NBC's Football Night in America. So is Rodney Harrison and Jax Collingsworth. They're cleaning the house over there at NBC.
Well, NBC's got a lot of stuff going on because now they've added, and we're going to get to this too, but they've added Sunday Night Baseball.
They have added Sunday Night Baseball, and ESPN is doing what?
Women's Sports Sunday.
Women's Sports Sunday. So there'll be no more Ravi or Coney and Eddie.
That's
for the Sunday Night Baseball. I used to like the Sunday night broadcast, but
yeah, it was pretty good.
They're going to women's sports, and they're going to focus on women's sports, do a show on women's sports. I don't know how that's going to do, but NBC's got the baseball. And
the way I look at it, so if you go back, Mike, there was a mutual agreement between ESPN and MLB. I don't want to make it sound like it was one-sided. They both mutually agreed to end their relationship early, and this was what ESPN strategized would be a better course of programming for them on Sunday nights, to have the WNBA and the National Women's Soccer League instead of Major League Baseball. And maybe they're right. Look, there's a big boom for women's sports. There's a lot of people. We talked a few weeks ago about how the 3-on-3 women's tournament at the Xfinity Mobile Arena was the largest crowd that they ever had in that arena, right? We know that the WNBA has become more popular. But I'll tell you, for television ratings wise, if you're going to put on the WNBA every Sunday night, you better be putting Caitlin Clark on every Sunday night if you want the TV ratings. Like, I mean, does the TV, they draw in person, but TV ratings are driven by Caitlin Clark.
No, it's funny. They wouldn't have even attempted this. I assume that it's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball wasn't doing very well ratings wise, so that they would have never changed it.
I guess. Here's the weird thing is they canceled that relationship, but then they re-upped a new deal with the MLB to air midweek games.
Yeah.
Now Sunday night's that's the prime time for sports.
Yeah.
So like, when you say the ratings aren't good enough, well, why do you feel that it's still good enough to have one on a Wednesday night, middle of the week, or Thursday night, whatever night it's going to be, but not to have it on your time when everybody wants to watch sports? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand ESPN's thought process there.
Yeah, I get it. Rob Thompson had a funny the other day yesterday, I guess, when the game was on.
Did you see this?
Tom McCarthy was out in the berm enjoying a baseball game. And Rob Thompson had a nice little quip saying, "Yeah, the sun reflection was bothering the hitters." It's pretty good for Philly Rob, huh?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Tom had no idea that was happening either. That's what the best part about it is. I'll tell you, a lot of people don't get to see it in this market. Rob Thompson is actually a very, very funny guy.
Yeah, he's witty. He's very witty.
He's sharp. He's got, and his delivery is dry. It's like a dry sense of humor, but it's very sharp. And, every time we go down there, before everybody turns on their phones to record the interviews and stuff, he's always got a one-liner. He's always got a joke to tell. And like, it really sets the mood for an interview with him. Like he's really good at that. So I give him a lot of credit for being quick on his feet.
That was a pretty good quip.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing I want to talk about today is this report that came out. Anthony, podcasts are more listened to than actual radio stations these days.
Yes. How about that?
That doesn't spell well for Sports Talk Radio in the city, by the way.
It spells well for us, though.
It spells well for us. You listen to podcasts. We appreciate everybody who's participating and listening and watching the podcast. All our regulars are on board today, I see.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really good. No, it was a study done by Edison Research that in the final months of 2025, so we're talking the last quarter of the year, podcasts surpassed talk radio as a share of overall spoken word audio listening. It says the data compared how Americans from the ages of 13 and older listen to podcasts versus AM, FM radio. And for the first time, it leaned more towards podcasts, although it was only audio consumption. This had nothing to do with video, like when we're on YouTube and stuff like that. It did not measure people watching sports talk or watching talk conversation. It's only in the audio platforms. So your Spotify's, your Apple Music.
You can listen to us on all those, by the way.
Yeah. So it's interesting, though. It's been a while, right? 20 years, I'd say. Podcasts have been around 20 years at this point, but where we are now, and everybody's got a podcast these days. Yep. But finally, it's the way that people are going. It's the way people are consuming their information. It's crazy how it changes, but yeah, that's how it is.
Anything else you got on your mind today before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's pretty much all I had. I was just trying to go back and see if there was anything.
We miss anything. We never like to miss
anything.
But
there was one item that I wanted to ask you about. Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. Yes. Yeah. Pat Riley saying that he thinks they got to go back to wearing the suits on the sidelines, the coaches.
Yes.
Now, I think it's ridiculous, frankly, to be honest with you. I never got it that they were trying to out-sharp each other. A quarter zip with the team logo is certainly fine by me, right?
Yeah, I agreed.
But Doc Rivers had something interesting to say.
Yeah, Doc Rivers. So the first person to respond was Eric Spoelstra, who works with Pat Riley. Yeah. Right? And Spoelstra said no. He says I own two suits. It's like one that I wear to weddings and award ceremonies, right? And that's it. Yeah. He says, I don't have any others. And he says, so I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. But Doc Rivers suggested that, you don't need it for the regular season, but for the playoffs.
You heighten it up for the playoffs.
Heighten it up for the games are a little bit
that would make it look even more ridiculous. That you're wearing a suit all of a sudden.
Mike, this is sports. I never understood it in press boxes. Like, I walk into a Flyers press box, and there are people there in suits to cover the game. I'm like, what are we doing?
I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
What are we doing?
I don't mind that. They're taking their
event.
job. They're taking their job seriously enough to wear a suit.
I take my job seriously too. I'm comfortable. I'm casual, right? Come on, we don't need to go all out. And I don't think the coaches do either.
They're saying that this is an important job task, so I'm going to dress accordingly. I don't have a problem with people who wear suits.
Yeah, for sports, I don't get it. It doesn't. Sports,
all right,
that's sports. It's fun. It's entertaining.
All right, Anthony. Always a pleasure speaking with you. And we did another one today. This is our what number of the?
16, I think this was our 16th
podcast together. We hope everybody's enjoying it. Check it out. If you tuned in late, you can get the whole podcast available on all podcast networks, and of course the on Pattison YouTube channel. For Anthony, I'm Mike Misnelli. You guys have a great rest of the day. Again, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week right here on the On Pattison podcast with Mike Misnelli and Anthony Sanfilippo. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.